computer. Got it. Okay. Thank you, Whitney.
Okay, so Lori, are you ready for me to start?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming today. And let me, again, this is a short information session on the Boren Scholarship, which is a federal scholarship to support study abroad careers that are particularly relevant to national security. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment, but keep in mind that national security is broadly defined. This is not strictly military intel stuff. This can be economics, demographics, human rights, environmental issues. So it's an expansive definition of what national security means. Now, the idea is to develop language and cultural expertise that can support the U.S. government, particularly in its national security efforts. The key part to understand about this is that it is not a study abroad program per se. It's a scholarship to fund a study abroad program, which means that as a part of your application process, you have to essentially identify the place that you're looking to go to, right? The courses you're going to take, the activities you're going to engage in. That's a part of the application process. And if your application is approved, then you can be awarded up to $25,000 for this effort. There is one exception to that. The board program has developed what's called a flagship language initiative for 4 particular areas. There is an African language institute, a Turkish language institute, South Asian, which covers Hindi and Urdu, and an Indonesian flagship institute. All 4 of these essentially involve a summer study at a U.S. institution. The African language ones are at Florida. All the others are at University of Wisconsin-Madison. But you do essentially some intensive language training in the United States, and then you go in the fall for your study abroad overseas, and you can actually apply for the spring semester as an addition, but you're only required to do the first semester. But that's the one exception where they essentially have a study abroad program wired in, if you will, as opposed to everyone else has to essentially identify the program that they're going to utilize. Now, by the way, one important issue with respect to this thing about the programs, it doesn't have to be a coastal program. To be sure, our Office of International Programs has some great study abroad opportunities, and the bureaucratic paperwork is much easier if you're doing it at your home institution. That said, if coastal does not have a study abroad at the location that you wanted to go to, you can pursue it through other institutions. So again, the awards for these are related to the amount of time that you're going, right? What you're going to find is that the longer the better in terms of your competitiveness. If it's more than 6 months, 25 to 52 weeks, you can apply for the full 25,000. If it's effectively a semester, like 12 to 24 weeks, the awards are in the ballpark of 12,500. Smaller awards for like 8 to 11 weeks, like summer study, are possible, but only for STEM majors. So science, technology, engineering, mathematics. The smaller ones are available, but only for STEM students. Now, the idea behind the scholarship is effectively it's a trade-off, right? That you are awarded this scholarship, and then after you graduate, that you will serve a year in the federal government. Now, this is not a guarantee of employment with the federal government, but it certainly makes it easier for you to get into the federal government. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. But essentially, the idea is you take this scholarship and you are given essentially, you're committing to a year of federal service, but you have to essentially find the job and apply for it. So that 1 year would begin sometime within 3 years after graduation. And as I said, it's not a guarantee of employment, but that said, there is a variety of resources through the National Security Education Program that are essentially meant to kind of facilitate your ability to apply to the U.S. government. Now, with regard to the places that people go, there are the traditional national security elements. I suppose the big 4, if you will, would be the intelligence community, the Department of Defense, the Department of State, Department of Homeland Security. That said, there are more expansive job opportunities, and so there have been people who place in other areas of the federal government. There's even the possibility of being able to take an educational position outside the federal government and under some circumstances, right? But so the idea is that the scholarship is essentially in exchange for a year of federal service. Now, the application process essentially comes down to being for the Boren Scholarship, being an undergraduate and a U.S. citizen at the time that you start your process. Now, if you're in graduate school or you plan to be in graduate school when you do the board, there is a Boren Fellowship. So there is a companion program that you can do as well. So this is not, the Boren Scholarship is for undergraduates, but there is a graduate level program that has all of the same attributes. So if you are intending to graduate before you would take advantage of this, you're not disqualified from this. As I said, the parameters that they're looking for are for people who are looking at careers in national security, again, broadly defined. So again, if you're interested in military affairs or diplomacy, intelligence, that certainly is great. But if you're interested in sustainability, public health, economic issues, right? So it's a very broad definition of national security. If you can make the connection, right, then you'll find that that tends to work. With regard to the overall objective of this program, what they're trying to do and what you're trying to demonstrate in your application, because you'll have essentially an application as well as a couple of essays where you try to make this case, is the synthesis of 3 areas: your particular major, your career goals about where you want to go, and this study abroad opportunity that you're applying for the scholarship for. And the idea, how do these 3 things integrate in pursuit of U.S. national security, right? So essentially, that's kind of the 3 things that you're trying to tie together throughout your application. And again, there's a normal kind of application where you're filling in the blanks, but there's also 2 essays that you write. These are 800-word essays, so they're reasonably small, but they both kind of tie into that question. I would say with regard to the applications, longer and less Western is better, right? Obviously, a year is better than a semester program, and going to Mexico is great, but going to Mongolia is better. So you'll find that English speaking countries, Western Europe, Canada, are off limits. They're United need to apply. Spanish and French, you can, but particularly you have to be at a higher level of proficiency. The one place where French can be useful is in the African Language Institute program in Senegal. But again, this map that you see here on this side of the screen, the green countries are the ones that are kind of preferred. The blue countries are ones where you can apply, but particularly they want you to have a fallback plan. That is essentially what's your alternate in case the security situation is not conducive to a study abroad in that country. So the application process for Boren generally comes up in late January, early February of each year. So there's 1 cycle per year. So we just passed the current cycle. However, if you're looking ahead, this is a great opportunity. And again, an opportunity not just to finance a study abroad to enhance your cultural and language skills, but also to potentially set yourself up on a career path for when you graduate. So let me stop with that. Do we want to take questions now or wait to the end?
We can, if they have any questions for you, Dr. Smith, they could ask them, because I know you have to leave here shortly. Otherwise, this is recorded, being recorded. So if we have any questions from any of the students, we can certainly pass those on to you.
Okay. Well, then let me stop sharing my screen and we can pass off to the next participant.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yes,
Laurie?
it is. Please. Yes.
Great. Yeah. Hi, everyone. 你们好. First of all, could you type in chat the language you are currently learning and the destination you are interested in for your study abroad trip, please? Or you shout out is fine as well. I see there are a lot of Chinese learners in this small group. Yeah, Harvest, you want to go to a French-speaking place? No, actually, you're interested in Asia. I know, like we talked briefly, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. While you're doing that, let me get started on my presentation. So my name is Dr. Xinyi Tan. I am an assistant professor of French and Chinese, also the director of the Chinese program and the IRRC. So today I'm going to talk to you about opportunities for studying abroad for those who are interested in learning Chinese in particular. So first of all, 你们想出国吗? Would you like to study abroad? So these photos are actually from our last semester's cultural event, China Through My Eyes. And these are all our students. So students that you know, that you're taking, you know, your classes with. And I was impressed by how many of them have actually already visited China or Taiwan or your Chinese speaking area when, you know, I met them for the first time in a Chinese class. As you can see, they're all having a great time when they're abroad. And, you know, it's like Dr. Smith already said, you know, you will not regret it. It's really like a wonderful opportunity, not just to improve your language abilities, but also to open up perspectives on the world. So definitely, you know, you should consider studying abroad. So we actually have quite a few opportunities for, you know, study abroad programs in Chinese speaking world. So we have, for example, in the past, we had offered the AASCU or the Chinese Government Scholarship. And we had a student who already received this and spent a semester in Beijing. And we also have the Mo Huayu Enrichment Scholarship, which allows you to go to Taiwan. And there is also critical language scholarship, which Dr. Schmidt will, you know, talk about in detail. Currently, the Mo Huayu Enrichment Scholarship is the one that I want to focus on because the deadline is approaching. It's March 31st. And this scholarship is very accessible and it's very flexible. Let me go into the details about this scholarship. So first of all, well, you don't need to know Mandarin. I know some of you are already learning Mandarin, which is great. The more you are learning at CCU, the more I think you can benefit from this kind of opportunity. However, if you don't know Mandarin, in Harvest's case, you can still go and you can start from scratch there. It's really cool. And let me just briefly talk about the benefits. Free trips, okay? With prestigious international scholarships, and also you can transfer free credits towards your major and minors. And these are specifically LAS, major and minors, Asian studies, and Chinese studies. So really you're, you know, killing two birds with one stone, and it's really a great opportunity. And the scholarship this year has the announcement of the scholarship is already out, and you can find the details from their website. So well, this is recorded and I'll share with you the slides after this event. So basically they allow you to go there for a duration of your choice, varying from 2 months all the way to a whole academic year. So if you just want to go there for the summer, it's totally, you know, possible. Or if you want to be there for a year to further improve your language abilities, it's also possible. So it's really a flexible scholarship. Plus, when you are there, not only you don't need to pay for the scholarship, for the tuition, also you will be given a stipend. Of NTD 25,000 is their currency, but it's about $850, which is sufficient for you to cover your daily expenses in Taiwan. And another thing is the application process is super, super easy. You don't have to write 2 essays, like, you know, well, I'll show you real quick. So all you need to do, okay, there are actually 2 things. First, you need a passport. And you will need that for whatever scholarship you apply for. And the second thing is you will need an admission letter from a Mandarin Learning Center in Taiwan. And well, I'm not gonna go into details about how you apply for this because of time limit, but if you're interested, reach out to me. I can walk you through the whole thing. It's not hard at all. But let me show you the application form to make you to show you like how easy it actually is. So hold on for a second. I think I have the current one on my desktop. Hold on for a second. Okay, so I have it. Okay, so basically you can choose. It's very easy, the application form. The first thing is you choose the duration for this study abroad program, and then it's just your personal information, and in the end it's just your simple statement. Why do you want to go? How this program will benefit your studies, and the whole thing will take you probably an hour or two to fill out. However, like I said, if you are interested before the, to meet the deadline of March 31st, you really need to get your passport application started. And also you will need a admission letter from the center, the Mandarin Center. It usually takes about 2 weeks for them to issue you the letter. So we still got time, like we still have, like a month and a half. But if you're interested, you need to start looking into this, and I'll be there to help you for sure. Like I said, you can choose however long you want to go. And I know like Harvest, you were actually looking forward to going to Japan, but you said the trip was canceled, right, for the summer. And you can go to Taiwan for 2 months in the summer as well. And if you are a LS major or like a minor in Asian studies, LS or Chinese studies, you can go there for longer times to transfer more credits back. And lastly, this is a checklist. As you can see, it's very straightforward. You need to fill out the application form I showed you, passport, and your diplomas. For you, it will be a transcript and also just reference letters. And I would be glad to write you one, if you're taking Chinese. And these are just some university Mandarin centers and the links to their websites. Some of them are free. You don't need to pay anything for their admission letter, and others charge like $15 or so. So yeah, I really think this is a wonderful opportunity. We don't have any scholar students here, right? Is there any Scholar Academy students? No? All of you are CCU students. Okay, then I will talk about this at another event. It's for Scholar Academy students. Yeah, so that's basically it. And I'll just end with your top priority is your passport. Please get it, get started. And I'm sure, the Global Engagement Office will be glad to help you. If you have any issue getting your passport, you can go there and have a meeting with Dr. Demond or, Laurie Patterson, or, to ask about the details for this passport application, okay? Do you have any questions? Yeah, Harvest?
Yes.
Is it your official like, do you need an official transcript or do you need like just a transcript?
You need an official transcript, and CCU can issue you that. It will probably take you a few days to get it. And the like I said, the advantage is you don't pay anything except your flights and your passport application. It's not a May semester study abroad trip where you have to pay a lot to actually go. But this one, you will be there by yourself. However, financially is more feasible. Okay, well, if you don't have any questions, thank you for coming, and please feel free to reach out to me if you decide to start the application process.
Hi,
Okay.
Dr. Gary, Dr. Schmidt, if you will, if you could be next.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, but I am not going to do a PowerPoint. Instead, I'm going to share the website, because the website of the Critical Language Scholarship is so very useful and has so much information. Okay, so can you all see this website, Critical Language Scholarship? All right, very good. Okay, so what is the CLS or Critical Language Scholarship Program? So it is actually both a scholarship program and a study abroad program. And namely that the difference then, for example, to the Bourne Award is that you do not choose your study abroad program. What you do choose is the language that you want to apply for. And if you are awarded a critical language scholarship, then you will have a paid for intense immersion, language immersion experience for 8 to 10 weeks at the site for that particular language. And these sites do vary year by year. So that's an important thing to keep in mind is you cannot choose the country, you will be assigned a site. And obviously, as we know that some languages are spoken in many different countries and for other reasons, the program cannot send US students necessarily to some of the countries where the language is mostly spoken. Examples right now would be, for example, Russia or Iran, for example. So there would be alternative sites for those languages. And those sites are determined every summer. Now, who is this for? So I need to keep this in mind in case this applies to any of you. This is a government funded scholarship, and it only US citizens unfortunately are eligible to apply. So if you are a US citizen, you are eligible to apply for this. And the reason that this is government funded is that it is to encourage the study of languages that are considered to be critical for national security, as you see this bold type here, and economic prosperity. And this does not mean, however, that you need to be entering a field of intel or security studies. It does not mean this at all. Now, as having been someone who has reviewed critical language scholarship applications at the semifinalist and finalist level, I know that the vast majority of the applicants are not going into intelligence or national security work. Some of the fields that applicants are going into might include health professions, or they might be wanting to go into research and get PhDs or academics. They might be going into diplomatic professions. They might be going into government work. Some might even be going into creative work or the arts. And so you are eligible for whatever field that you're studying to apply for this scholarship. And the key is that simply you make an argument for why it is important for you at this point in your professional life to obtain an advanced proficiency in this language and to have a more intense engagement with this particular culture. So what are the languages? They are, as we see, many. And I'm going to start from the bottom. Because the languages toward the bottom, we have several that we do teach here at Coastal Carolina. For example, Chinese, Russian, and Arabic. These languages require previous study. So it would be difficult for anyone at Coastal right now, unless you've transferred in courses or done some independent study, to apply for Korean, Portuguese, or Japanese because of the previous study that's required. However, for example, and I don't know if this would apply to anyone, if you are a heritage speaker of one of these languages, for example, and you spoke it in your family, but you aren't really completely fluent, you don't have an advanced proficiency, you can make an argument for applying for this, but you would have to do that carefully. So if you have studied Chinese for 2 years, here you are eligible to apply for this. Now, keep in mind, the applications roll out every year in the fall. So the new for the next cycle, the new application should be posted in mid or late September. Would be accessible from this website, as you see, CL Scholarship, Critical Language Scholarship. It's pretty easy to remember, or you just Google Critical Language Scholarship. This will come up right away, or ask one of us in the fall. And the application becomes available in September and is due in mid-November. So you can start thinking about this now. If you, for example, are in your first year of Chinese, I don't know if any of you are, you'll be eligible to apply in the fall, because you would be as long as you keep taking Chinese each semester, because the requirement is that you would have completed 2 years of college language before starting the program, right? And so the next program dates to apply for will be summer of 2023. Okay. Arabic and Russian, you only need 1 year. So for example, even if you haven't started studying Arabic or Russian, you could actually start next fall and still be eligible to apply because you can finish the 2 semesters before you would go on this program. What does it pay for? Basically, pretty much similar to all the other programs. It pays for everything except your passport fees, cost of medical exams, and any follow-up visits to pass the medical review process. Okay. Important to know, look at your benefits. It pays for all these other things, your international and domestic travel, your visa application fees. So while it doesn't pay for your passport, if there's an additional visa required to travel to the country of the program, that will be paid for. All the language instruction, room, board, program sponsored travel within the country. There are excursions involved and activities to help you become more familiar with the people and the culture. And this is all a benefit of this program. Also, a nice little feature of this is that you get a free OPI. So an OPI is an oral proficiency interview, which uses the rating scale of the ACTFL, or the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, and is recognized nationally and internationally as a rating of your proficiency level in this language. You could show this to a graduate school, an employer, a prospective employer, as demonstration of your proficiency at a certain level. Those are not, they're not cheap. So this is a good thing. And you can get academic credit through Bryn Mawr College. So if you're currently, and you'll still be studying here at Coastal, that credit will transfer back and can apply for toward a language major or minor. Okay, I didn't finish the languages. Take a look at all the languages where no previous study is required, right? We've had students apply and be awarded in this area. For example, Azerbaijani, right? So Azerbaijani is a Turkic language, so related to Turkish, spoken in the Caucasus region, Azerbaijan. And all these languages spoken in India: Bangla, Hindi, Punjabi, Urdu, also spoken in Pakistan. Indonesian, spoken by hundreds of millions of people in Indonesia. Persian, which is spoken in Iran, and that I mentioned that site would not be in Iran. Swahili, spoken in Central and Eastern Africa, and Turkish, spoken in Turkey. Urdu, spoken in Pakistan. So those are all languages you could apply for, even if you haven't studied the language previously, but the key is that you make an argument as to why this is important for you at this time. Okay, so I really think that not being entirely sure where the level of interest of all of you is, or what your questions are, it would probably be more productive for me to stop now and have you actually ask your questions during the question and answer session that are more applicable to your particular needs and interests.
Dr. Schmidt, I actually have a question about the critical language scholarship. So the recipients, are they able to transfer credits to?
Yes, through
they
Bryn Mawr
are.
College. The credit is awarded through Bryn Mawr College, which is a, if I might state, highly reputable college in the Northeast, and those can be transferred back to CCU.
Okay. And also, I know this is a very competitive scholarship.
Sure.
And what is the average acceptance rate for this scholarship?
Thanks for those questions. I'm glad those are actually things I wanted to mention, so I really appreciate those questions. 10% of applicants receive it, which is very competitive. However, coastal students have received it. And here's the thing, we can mentor you on this, and we have been mentoring students. And I am very familiar, and others here in this room are very familiar with what the questions are that are asked, and even how these are evaluated. Basically, the application form, the sort of the meat, the heart of it is a series of short essays where you talk about your sort of resilience. What makes you somebody who will be able to thrive not to survive, but to thrive in an immersion experience in another country away from home with a group of people for 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah.
What is your interest in this language? Why is this crucial that you do this at this particular time in your life, right? Here's something very key. What are your competencies and your vision as a cultural ambassador? So what is a cultural ambassador? Is someone who you will be representing the United States and and I want to say plural, the cultures of the United States abroad when you go there, because you will be interacting not only with your instructors who are native speakers, but also with other individuals from the country. What do you wish to bring to those people, and what do you wish to learn from them? And then, your future plans. Why is this important for your future plans? One other thing I should say, let's say, yeah, I stated that you do not need to have prior experience in the language. However, I know from my experience as a reviewer, let's say you decide within the next month or so that you really want to apply for Swahili because you are interested in the peoples and the cultures of Africa or of that particular part of Africa. And learning Swahili would be very beneficial for you. Well, in terms of applying for the scholarship, it would also be beneficial for you to start right now exploring, actually, starting to learn the language in some way, even if it's just through something like Duolingo, which is a free app that you can get online, or other, maybe resources in the library or potentially in the Intercultural Language Resource Center. So that you can make an argument, all right, you're already starting to learn, parts of the language, you're starting to learn things about the language because that shows your interest, right? And then the other thing is leverage your experience as a language learner. Let's say you have learned German and I'll say German because that's my language, and have learned proficiency, have gained a proficiency in German. Leverage that in your application to state, I have demonstrated my ability to master this language. I am a highly competent language learner, and these are the strategies that I have used. Make it convincing. And this demonstrates that I will be able to not just learn some Swahili, but actually become quite even competent conversationally, for example, in Swahili after an 8 to 10 week immersive experience. Are you all still there? Because I see some people look frozen. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Gary, could I ask you, this is Lori, could I
Yes.
ask you to maybe type in the site where maybe some of these students could access the free app for language?
Oh, Duolingo. Okay, hold
Yes.
on. I think
I
Duolingo
think that
has
would be
Swahili,
beneficial
but
for
let's see.
them.
All right, I'm going to go to you're going to all see, I hope nothing compromising comes up. You're going to all see my Duolingo and all my languages that I've had. I already have an account. Okay. All right, let's see. Show you this. I don't know what's going on with this. Okay, but at least I see that it's just duolingo.com, and I'll put that in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Oh, there it is. There I am. As you can see, right now I'm focusing on Russian. Okay, now I'm going to stop my screen share.
Yeah, so there's just
I'm
one
not,
thing.
am I not sharing my screen anymore?
No.
Good,
not.
okay.
So there's just one thing I kind of want to bring up to all the students. So you don't have to be limited to one scholarship. And in fact, I recommend you apply to, several, because you never know which one will actually work out. So as you can see from, Dr. Smith to, me, and then to Dr. Schmidt, the levels of difficulty are very different, right? So the easiest is, I cannot say this, I cannot guarantee anything, But in the past, we have had 4 students who applied for the Mo Huayu enrichment scholarship for Taiwan. All of them were accepted. And you saw how easy the application is. So that's definitely the easiest one, but there's also the very competitive, but also beneficial, extremely, prestigious CLS scholarship. So it's just up to you, which challenge you want to take. And, I think you can start reflecting on these opportunities, and you can, attempt all of them, not just 1 or 2.
And let me add, because I hate to bring in all the sort of disqualifying factors, but I know that there are some students here who are graduating soon. You have to be, so the next round of CLS is fall application. You have to be enrolled in either an undergraduate or a graduate program at the time of your application, right? But it could be a graduate program.
And thank you for bringing it up. And in fact, for the Mo Huayu enrichment scholarship, even if you are not a CCU student, you're qualified. You can go anytime. And I actually suggested to my students who are graduating to take a gap year and, study Mandarin in Taiwan if, they don't have a plan for their career. So yeah, you see, like, there are very different opportunities. So yeah, hopefully you can find one that fits you the best.
Did Harvest have a question? You need to unmute.
Okay, yeah. You kind of touched on it in a way. So I'll be a senior next semester. So, but I would still be enrolled in classes at CCU, but I still apply.
Okay. I thought you were graduating this spring.
No, I have 1 more year.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I could still apply though, right?
Yeah, you can definitely still apply.
Okay. Sounds
You
good.
can apply in the fall. Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
Well, this has been, can people hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry for the delay in joining you all. The bits I've heard have been very informative and I've learned a lot. So thank you, everybody. My name is Judy Zang, if you haven't met me before. I'm the Director of National Scholarships, and I work in the Honors College, but I advise and help all CCU students. And just picking up where Dr. Tan and Schmidt left off, there are a lot of awards for students who have already graduated. So, I will just briefly go over what I think is important. The featured faculty made a lot of good points, and so I won't repeat what they said. Just a big thank you to Lori Patterson and the Center for Global Engagement, Dr. Donkey Demond and Dr. Whitney Morris for helping out today and letting us do this virtual session. Dr. Darla Demont, if any of you have questions about traveling in the global health crisis we're in right now, she said that she could pop in and say a few words, so we could perhaps end on that note. But let me share my screen and just quickly go over. Okay, let me see. Slideshow from the beginning. Can you all see the slideshow? Uh-oh. Are you still there, everybody?
Judy, we're here. Yes.
Okay, so you can see it. Sorry. When I put on from the beginning, all of you disappeared. So, anyway, well, we've already introduced ourselves, and so you know who we are. I'm just going to quickly talk about the shared mission. Probably it was already mentioned, a quick view of the different awards. Dr. Schmidt mentioned about being an ambassador and why that's important, so I won't spend a lot of time on that. Early preparation, that's been part of the presentation so far. My biggest strength is helping students write effectively. And then I want to plug the Gilman and Rotary session tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and then the Fulbright general presentation session in March at the end. So interrupt me at any time because I can't see you the way the presentation is. But the general mission is for all of the awards. Yes.
I don't, are you screen sharing? Cause I don't see it on
Oh,
my
you
side.
don't? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything either.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe
let's-
check which screen you're choosing on the screen share, Judy.
Okay, thank you. Share.
Now it's your desktop.
Yep, we see your desktop.
Okay, so maybe I need to move it over here.
There you go.
And then from now, can you see it?
National scholarships for international
Oh,
study
yeah,
research.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, see what a mess I am here. Okay, here we go. I went over what I was going to talk about. The mission, all international, nationally competitive awards, at the heart of it is to promote cultural exchange and mutual understanding among nations. Now, each has a specific nation, mission and goal. There are some for STEM research, so that would be a collaborative network in the STEM fields. Others may be, a cultural immersion. Well, we talked about a couple of language learning ones, but the overall mission for all of them is that cultural exchange and promoting mutual understanding. This is kind of a useless screen, but it is my cue to share with you. Let me go to the chat. If a quick flyer that I have, let me see. Hold on one second. If I escape, it's a 2-page flyer of 27 different awards. Let me see if I can pull it up. 1 second. Yeah. Oh, I know how to do it. You go under the chat, right? And then I hit on everyone. And then I click on, let's see if it works. Did you get it or no? Let's try it again. Click. Desktop. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Maybe it'll work. Let's try it. All right, forget that. Forget that fancy thing. I'll send it to everyone who's in the session. But I have a 2-page flyer of different awards that you can apply for. And there are a lot of different awards, and some of them are usually they're about 4 weeks, but Gilman right now is you can stay abroad less than 4 weeks, 6 months, 3 months, or a whole year. And there are national awards that fund internships, language study. There are many different kinds of awards to different regions. There are some awards where you have to choose your country, and then there are other awards where you have to go to the place that the award is for. Okay, let me see if I can get back to my PowerPoint again. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. Share, and then from the beginning. Okay. So 1 second. So the early preparation, I can't tell you how important that is. Back in the day, instructions would be maybe 2-3 pages. Now they have websites with many different links. The earlier you start, the more you can become familiar with what's on the websites. Dr. Tan introduced one that's fairly simple, but some of them are more complicated. A lot of the awards have PowerPoints or webinars that are very useful, pre-recorded ones that really help you think about what to include in your application and your statements. The criteria is really important. You need to be able to check every single eligibility. If there's a minimum GPA, and for some of them there are many of them there aren't, you have to have that GPA. Same with what year you apply. So you have to pay close attention. Last month, it wasn't until a student told me in one of the awards that she applied for that the deadline for recommendation letters was a week earlier than the student deadline. I had no idea. So luckily the student read the instructions because I depend on you to read all the instructions. I typically from year to year work with 50 different awards, and I'm not familiar with every instruction and every component of them. So I rely on you to read them carefully. And most of the awards that you'll see in the flyer that I'll send you are due beginning in the early fall, later fall, and early spring. So you have time between now and then to become familiar with them, to see one of the faculty members here, to study abroad, the Center for Global Engagement, and myself, and to get some advice on which awards are right for you. The other thing about preparation is you really have to figure out, why are you applying for it? Why that country? How does it fit in with your educational goals? What do you expect to gain from that experience? I have you see present you and future you. You have to be able to articulate that. And it requires you to be familiar with the country, not an expert, but you should know a little bit about the culture, the history, where it is, any kind of pressing current events. Some of the awards, especially the more elite awards, include interviews if you are shortlisted for it, if you become a semi-finalist. So the more you are comfortable talking about the country, and the only way you can talk about what you want to learn about the country is if you have a basic understanding of the different, the culture, the language, the history, the current events. And also, I depend on a team in order to do my job, and I want you to understand, as students, you really need a team. It's just not you and the one faculty member that recommended the award to you, or you and a parent that is a really good writer, or your friends. You work with me, you work with your mentors. I help you network with people either on campus or off campus that have some expertise in the country or the topic that you want to study or research in the country. The Career Center is absolutely important, especially if it involves an internship, or if you do have to practice some interview skills and you don't want to wait until you are notified that you are a finalist and have 1 week to figure out, be comfortable with talking about yourself and what you want to do in the country. The Center for Global Engagement, I very much depend on them to help you choose a study abroad program, the steps that you need to know before departure, also to learn about what kind of support you can have while you're in the country. So there's, if I'd like to talk to students like 1 to 3 years before they apply, because there's a lot of things you can do beforehand to make you competitive. And also, if you apply, the critical language scholarship is a little bit different from the others. Dr. Schmidt, I think you would admit that there's not a big window between when the award opens and when it's due. It's a little shorter than most awards, but some awards, they're open for a good 4 to 5 months before they're due, but you should be looking at it even before that. Developing ambassadorial potential. There are so many different ways that you can talk about what your potential is. And it doesn't even have to be that you've been in another country. Many of the awards, you're perfectly fine candidate if you have had no travel experience. But even at work, if you work at a restaurant and you're on the crew line, how do you get along with people? Are you able to take instructions? Are you able to, be a leader? Going abroad includes leaving your comfort zone in a big way, in a way perhaps you've never experienced before. So early preparation will allow you to think about, how you have different things that you forced yourself to do that may have been a little bit uncomfortable, and then how you adjusted to that. Paying attention to world events, you know, and it's not just for an interview you might get, but even when you're over there, you don't want to have people from the country talk to you about different events, even in the United States or in the world, and you don't know what the heck they're talking about because you don't pay attention to what's going on. I mean, I usually ask students when they come and talk to me, how do you get your news? What news sources do you use? How often do you check the news? It's really important. Of course, we talked about exploring the language, the culture, the history of the country. You don't have to be an expert, but if you're going there and you're going to do a science project, think about how by becoming an expert or gaining expertise in that particular field and the research that you're doing, how that connects to getting to know the local culture, getting to know the business and what's going on in the country. It's probably was mentioned before I got on here, but flexibility, adaptability are huge factors in terms of a national review committee looking at the application. And if you're able to talk about different things in your life that where you can demonstrate that you've adapted to new situations, or you're flexible, or you've pushed through difficulties or adversity, that's really important. Okay, effective writing. I can't say how important this is. We only have 5 minutes, so I'll be really quick here. Reviewers read hundreds of applications, so you really want to get to the point. You don't want to be redundant. If you're redundant and you repeat things just in so many different words or take too many words, they'll start skimming. And if they skim, they're gonna miss the important parts of what you say. Clarity is absolutely important. If I don't know what you're talking about and I have to read a sentence once or twice, right away, it's going to negatively impact my how I value you as a candidate. By sin of omission, there are a lot of things that a lot of students I work with can talk about the country, talk about the answer, the prompts, but they don't know how to talk about themselves. They can talk about their academics and what they want to learn, and I can help you through that. What do you mention about your personal background? It's for most awards, it's really important. Do you work a part-time and help pay your tuition? Are you involved in some activities that they should know about that shows that you're going to be really a good ambassador abroad? Have you been on your own since high school, and independent because of different family situations? So there are things and there are ways to talk about those personal things that you should include. And then what I can do and what other people who are helping you with it can do is to frame it in a very positive way that it's always connected to the award and you don't go off topic. I mentioned about reading the answering the prompts. That is so important. I feel like besides clarity and not getting to the point, and I can help you learn how to edit. Editing is so important. Writing is not easy. Editing helps you get there. Giving yourself enough time to edit, let it sit, could go back to it a couple days later, pick it up again. The more times you edit it, the stronger it will be. But answering the prompts is so important. And that's one thing that can prevent you from being moved forward in an application, is because you really didn't answer the questions that they want. And then I did not mention it here, but along with that 2-page flyer of different awards to help fund your international education, I have a packet that you give potential letter writers and to help them know exactly what the award is and what they should cover. It's really important that you give them at least a month's notice. If you have this packet every time and you give it to them to write for the award, then they will if they get another request from you and it's you've asked them already for a dozen letters, they won't mind because you ask them in plenty of time and you tell them exactly what you need for the letter. So that's very, very important. There is a session tomorrow at 3 o'clock that Dr. Darla Domke Demont can tell you about, but it's for the Gilman for Pell Grant recipients and also for the Rotary, which is a fabulous post-baccalaureate award. Also, I will send to you, I will figure out how about, I don't know, Lori, how is it best to get the students on this session, their emails to send them the things that I was not able to send them through the chat?
Judy, I have their information.
Super. Okay.
Yes. So I
All
can
right.
send, if you, yeah, you can send it to me and I'll send it out.
Okay, that would be good. I also want to plug the Fulbright program. They're going to do a virtual visit with us, and I will send that to you too. You should register for it, especially if you're a third year or a senior. I really highly recommend that award. It's just so many benefits. I can't even begin to tell you about them. Just so you know, the Fulbright first campus deadline is September 12th. So we would be working over the summer on that together, and also beginning the spring to talk about it. Here's the Gilman information. And then I'll send that to you as well, or Lori will. And then here's our contact information. I do not have the awards up on the website yet, but the link at the very end with my name, that's if you can't find it, just go to the Honors College and click on National Scholarships. I'm hoping it will be up in about 2 weeks with many guidelines and tips. Darla, do you want to say anything to the students who, especially the ones that might be hesitant about traveling these days?
Sure. I would just say, first of all, thank you to all of our colleagues for sharing these wonderful opportunities. I myself was a benefit of an education abroad program, actually a couple of them, including Fulbright. So I cannot say enough how important it is that you apply. If you do not apply, you cannot get it. And that's a starting point. And you've gotten a lot of great pointers here about each of these programs. If you are a Pell Grant recipient, then I would tell you that you are making a big mistake by not stopping by tomorrow and learning about some of the opportunities that's limited to only Pell Grant recipients for the Gilman program. I will just say, to kind of as a teaser, if that's something that you receive as a part of your financial aid here at the university, Coastal had 11 students submit applications, complete applications in the fall cycle. 6 of those students received awards, and earlier in this hour, in fact, we were just on the conference call with the Gilman program because they had some requirements and limitations to using it given travel advisories. They've just blasted those all open, and we have a lot of adjustments that will allow all these students to be able to use those fully. I would also note that in addition to all of these programs, some of these programs also fund virtual international experiences as well, and we can talk with you about those as well. But in the long run here, you have a bunch of resources here that have opportunities. Realize that a lot of students see these and think, I can't do that, or that's not me, or it might be too hard. But you have dedicated mentors. These people whose faces you're seeing here will sit with you and help you. We will all work with you to be able to help mentor your application so that your voice can be heard, because every one of these programs is looking to expand the diversity of people who are participating in education abroad programs, because as Gary mentioned, you're representing not a singularity of US, but you're representing a breadth of the range of what the US means in these different settings. So we look forward to working with you and supporting you in that process. I know there was one question that came up in chat about students with disabilities participating in education abroad opportunities. I provided some feedback in the chat, but I encourage you to reach out come to our Abroad 101 programs to learn about what programs we have. Look at our website to see some of those opportunities as well, and know that we are here to work with you to realize the opportunities you would like to see, and also to challenge you to think about some maybe you hadn't thought possible. So please do help us to help you in that process. And thank you, Judy. Thank you, Sinyi, Gary, and Jonathan, as well as Lori, for the hosting today.
Oh, so Darla, I just have a quick question. So given the current pandemic, how long does it take for students to receive their passport?
Yeah, thanks for that question. That was up to, 12 weeks and sometimes even longer earlier in the pandemic. But more recently, we've seen people getting them in as little as 3 weeks. That being said, now we know that there can be backups. And there is also an anticipation that here, I'll take the screen sharing off if that's okay. Let me.
Sorry.
So we'll take off screen sharing, but more recently we've seen that be shorter. That being said, we know that there is an increased mobility now as the borders are opening and conditions are widening, and so all of the travel seen is one that's seeing that more people are going to be applying. So always we encourage you to apply early to be able to make sure you can do that. Harvest, great to see you again. Come by and see us now, okay? And also I will tell you that Coastal has recently applied. We hope, that we will get a grant to help students to apply for their very first scholarships as well. Do know, though, you can apply for your scholarship right here at Coastal Carolina University in the post office. And then Whitney and Lori have also hosted some of those over here, some of the passport acceptance events here as well. Should we receive that grant, we'll be announcing a larger engagement initiative to go with that. But in the meantime, do get started. If you need help in knowing what there is, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to connect you to the resources that you'll need to bring that include your original birth certificate. Sometimes, depending on where you were born and where that's stored in your mom's or dad's or support networks collection, that may take a little while to come up with, but we can certainly help you to know what you'll need so that you have it all in play. And that shortens, of course, the cycle as well.
Yeah, and just one piece of information to add to that, it lasts for 10 years. So
that's right. If you are over 16 years old, then it will last for 10 years. If you got one when you were younger, it's only a 5-year one. So for a lot of our students who did have one and they traveled with their families earlier, you got to take a look because yours might be on the verge of expiring. So and getting a replacement one, as long as you haven't lost your original passport, is actually a shorter cycle as well. Just 2 other points I'd also make. I want to second what Dr. Tan has said about the Taiwan scholarship in particular. Not only have we seen pretty close to 100% granting here, but Taiwan and South Carolina are sister states. And so there is also a special collaboration between the nation state of Taiwan and coastal and South Carolina as a state as well. So these offer some things. Also, just yesterday, Taiwan moved to a CDC level 1 and a U.S. Department of State travel advisory level 3, which has also opened more doors. And our students, one already there and the other one shortly to arrive to begin their scholarship there this spring. So please challenge us, students. If what you heard today is of interest, go for it. Go for it. There is, and even if you're on a short cycle like the Gilmans are due in less than 2 weeks now, this is a short cycle. So it doesn't meet what Ms. Zang was saying about, get started in advance. But the point here is even if you don't make it this round, you'll have a good start to it. You'll have a very good framework. And one thing you're also going to see is that there is a similarity, not exactly, but there is a similarity to how you approach each one of these in terms of telling your story, focusing on the activities that they're asking about, linking together the narrative and the disclosures. And I've sat on the review panels of a couple of these national scholarships as well. And it is important, absolutely, to be responsive to the things that are there. From Coastal's perspective, you go through a travel request process right now. We had 17 students who went through that for the spring, or actually 17 groups, depending on where they were going. And all of those were approved with some conditions to help support them. And as you're out for a semester or a 3-week program or a 2-week or a 10-day or however long that is, you are covered by our international insurance. Lori, Whitney, or others here are doing support pre-departure activities, as well as touching base with you while you're abroad. So we don't abandon you even while you're gone.
Thank you. That's so helpful. And I want to echo what was just said about applying. Just do not be afraid of applying. And the more times you apply, the better chances there are the next time that you apply, you'll be successful. It takes practice. Sometimes you hit it the first time, sometimes you don't, but you can recycle that material and you get better at it and better at it. I will include with Ms. Patterson how to make an appointment with me. I'd like to talk to you as soon as you get a chance, and we can look at the couple of awards that perfectly fit your profile and ones you can grow into later. So thank you for attending. I'm really, really glad that you made the time, and please do go to the Gilman Rotary session tomorrow. It will be worth your while. Thank you, everybody, for your support.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
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 Thank you.